The trial of hope is suffering. Thus it can happen that we are forced to escape from one refuge and flee to another. In Maxim Gorky's play, The Lower Depths, the old Luka hardens the actor, saying that he knows a hospital not far away where people get cured of alcoholism. He is lying. There has never been such a miracle hospital. The actor still believes him. Somehow he fathoms that by recovering, Luka means ceasing to exist. And the actor ends his life soon after. He manages to escape. When Luka speaks of hope, as a chance for a great absolute escape, he can only think of disappearing or evanescing. He sees death not as an elementary reason to flee but as the ultimate refuge. His thinking does not assume life as a miracle, but as something inherently temporary. The old man cannot or does not want to take into account that for some mysterious reason life is more attractive to the living than death. Moreover, life is the most important thing to most, and the ultimate goal of life is to live it. Even if it is temporary and full of irreparable contradictions, therefore full of suffering, and therefore full of escaping. It seems that within this problematic yet compelling incongruity called life, we have far more reasons to escape than there are refuges. There are more causes from where, from what, out of what, and from whom we run away than there are places where, to what, into what, to whom we can run. There appear to be a lot more problems than solutions. What do all these escapes have in common? Is there a common denominator for escapes? Are we able to coin a concept for ourselves that can capsulize the reason for all escapes with universal validity? And if we are, will this concept help us withstand anything? Most people run away because they are scared. Often scared of fear itself. Having no better hypothesis than that the purpose of life is life itself, the cause of this fear might be death, the fear for our lives, the ultimate reason for escape being the hope for a youth without growing old, and a life without ever reaching the end of it. It seems plausible that our ultimate refuge is hope. Even if most of the time hope turns out to be unfounded or vain, turning into another source of fear. Even if hope is hypothetical every time and has nothing to do with what we regard as truth. Hope and fear, like refuge and escape, are intertwisted parallels forming an exceptional DNA helix in which the encounter of parallels becomes possible, and where intolerable and tolerable can swap places. In fact, it is not the relationship of hope to truth that matters, but that hope gives us enough reasons to flee into life. Can hope be the common denominator of all our escapes after all? Over time, we have come to find out things, like, that the Earth is not the center of the universe. We also found out that the cosmos is built up of the combination of only 92 elements, and that life is nothing more than a special case of matter. However, we have failed to figure out what makes the living so different from the inanimate. Neither do we know how certain combinations of matter became self-aware. Consciousness is the most stubborn mystery that have ever happened to us, and in us. In lieu of mere hope, can the common denominator of escapes be consciousness whence both fear and hope stem? Is hope often unfounded because consciousness has nothing to do with what is commonly considered completeness? Nevertheless, consciousness has us believe that fear is unbearably hard and cold, while hope is silky soft, warm and pampering, and the order expressed in hope tints it all rose. Hope is nothing but reassuring rosiness. Some assume, confidently, that consciousness along with feelings are just a multitude of simple biochemical algorithms whose sophistication is the result of millions of years of evolution. Others, also confidently, say that it is impossible that consciousness would be the result of algorithms and computation. Eugen Henrik Schmidt states, "The contradiction of man is that his consciousness is infinite, but his self-consciousness is finite. I am the contradiction of infinite consciousness and finite self-consciousness. When I express their battle, I necessarily express myself." According to this, the common denominator of all escapes is not self-consciousness, but a lifelong struggle in which instances of hope can only be finite, that is, temporary victories. Hope, sooner or later, but eventually proves temporary most of the time. Hope is nothing more than a lifelong escape into the provisional, into a permanent provisionality. We know, and like it or not, we are forced to acknowledge that our lives belong to the temporary. We also know that we know little, and that our knowledge is wrong. False knowledge is temporary knowledge. Actually, it is ignorance. However, we do not feel forced to acknowledge ignorance. Ignorance is somehow less fated than the temporality of life. Either way, ignorance is scary. We are scared of it because it harbors no catharsis. There is an idea proclaiming that the gods were begotten by our ignorance and fears. In their creation, we transferred the capacity of omniscience from the real into the imaginary. We replaced the ephemeral with the constant and eternal. We turned the physical into metaphysical. We ran from ignorance to faith. By doing so, we created the reality of imagination and the truth of fiction, which finally seemed cathartic enough because we ostensibly eliminated their temporariness. In the gods, we found a metaphor for omniscience. We have worked at length and in depth to transform fiction into reality, often fanatically, with unwavering faith. Meanwhile, we created fantastic stories and told them to each other. We fled into the divine stories of the gods. It felt good to listen to them, and it seemed like a good strategy to follow them. Then it turned out that this elimination of the temporary was temporary too. Our hope for the eternal truth of the gods was dashed along the way. We started to feel more and more often that the gods had let us down. We gradually escaped from this darkness into the light. We replaced faith with doubt, irrationality with reason, and mythology with history. We started to hope for knowledge. And as it seems slightly more sober and sensible, we take our new hope for knowledge as progress. Arguably because in this hope we restored temporality, change, and entropy as constants. In the meantime, we keep inventing and telling exciting stories. Now we are escaping into stories about knowledge and reason. It feels good to listen to them, and it seems like a good strategy to follow them. All in all, it became obvious that we are not able to evade temporality. The temporary is our constant. It also seems obvious that what can be said to be constant within the provisionality of life, our attraction to stories, is in essence independent of its positive or negative, personally or collectively applicable morality. So one way or another, stories are important to us even if they are not true. We love to escape into each other's stories.